So this is my late dad's Chevy Lumina SS, and in the words of Nati, we're going to build the hottest Chevy SS in South Africa. This is me documenting the journey in my father's memory and to hopefully create the vision that he always wanted. You can see we've already done some interior modifications on the vehicle, but today we're going to be focusing on the door panels to get the car ready for a new sound system installation. We're going to upgrade the door speaker grill in this video with a custom built one-of-a-kind design, so stay tuned to the end to see the final product. Let's get started on the build. So we are in Fusion 360 at the moment, and we are looking at the final version of the project. This is going to be made up of three main parts. We have the red outer ring, which is going to have Chevy Supercharged engraved on it. We have the inner brushed metallic stainless steel finish for the grille or the mesh plate. And lastly, we have the SS badge, which will be 3D printed. We have some locating holes in the back for mounting everything up. And I'm going to send this off for laser cutting the blanks. And let's tune back in once we get the parts back from the laser cutting services. Okay ladies, we've got all the parts that I showed you on the computer. We've got them laser cut. This is the stainless steel grill slash mesh, which is going to have a brush finish. You can see it's a little bit scarred up from the raw material, but we're going to burnish it and give it a nice brushed finish. These are all the SS logos made from aluminium. Not too happy with them. It's got a little notch in there cut out, which is a mistake on the machine or the program. I'm not sure if it focuses. So that'll get 3D printed probably. And this is the outer ring. So we're going to start with the outer ring. They come out pretty rough. It's very sharp. It's almost dangerous. You can probably cut yourself on that. This is made from aluminium. It's going to be soft. It's going to be easy to cut and sand and file down. And you can see there's a little nipple here that gets left behind from the machining. So I think let's start with this, and we're going to move over to the drill press and we can start sanding that. So let's go over there and get started with the project. I've got a 60 grit flap wheel loaded up into the head of the drill press, and I'm just feeding the material with even pressure on the inside and outside to help get rid of most of the machining marks from the laser cutting process. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to still have to do some final sanding, but this will get us to the finished result a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and we'll clean it up in the next step. I've got some 3M 400 grit sandpaper here. I've just dabbed it up with some water, and I'm going to basically sand out any of the scratches left behind from the 60 grit flap wheel on the drill press. So I'm sanding the inside and the outside to try to get it as smooth as possible, and then we're going to move over to the CNC machine where we can start the engraving. So we're at the CNC machine. I've already cut a cavity in the spoil board, which basically perfectly fits the rings that we sanded already. So you got to hit it with the hammer a little bit. It's a bit of a tight fit. It's undersized slightly. And you can see the bit that we have loaded in there. It's a very sharp bit, very pointy bit to do the engraving. So once we have that loaded, we should be able to press start on the machine and we'll watch it cut. And this is the software we're running just on my laptop. It's Mark IV. And those are the letters, Chevy Supercharged. All the parameters are set, so it's pretty much good to go. Let's just put the part in, make sure everything is zeroed out, and then we'll be able to press start and watch it work. Alright, all ready to spray paint now. I've got my final part all cleaned up, roughened it up a little bit with 400 grit on the outside so the paint can stick. It's looking pretty nice there. These are the three spray paints I'm using. So we're going to start with the primer, 1K HP body primer. I've got the red, which is a custom mixed paint job, also HB, and then we've got the 2K clear and spray can. So you guys can mix and match spray paint as well, by the way, and they'll put it in a spray can for you. So that red, this was before I started recording, is the same red on these rims. So I did all these blood red accents on the rims. That'll go on the car soon. So what we're gonna do is, we'll look at the camera setup. I'm gonna start with the primer first. I'll get these off the table or the box. And the main goal is to make sure we cover the inside and the outside of this ring, and obviously the text on the outside, without getting too much spray paint on there. So you just gotta mix it up a couple of seconds. That's pretty much good to go. All right, so I'll start with the inside, and the outside, I suppose. So the first coat I'm going to do is going to be pretty light, and then I'll just come back over the top. Okay, it's been about 10-12 minutes. Going to get started on the second coat, and then I'm going to start the machine up for the next ring to be engraved. Okay. Again, same thing, we'll do the outside and inside first. And then one coat on the top. I've got the second one off the machine, so this one's cleaned up, ready for primer. I've already polished it up and everything. Look at that, looks fantastic. I could have probably even left it as machined, but we always can make more. I'm gonna go with the blood red now. Same story as the primer. We're gonna try get the insides outside. I gotta be a little bit more delicate with this one. This one takes longer to dry. I think it's a 2K paint as well. So we're gonna try get the outside and inside first. Oh. So I made a bit of a mistake there. Hopefully it'll get covered up. Okay. I've applied the second coat of paint already. Remember, this is what we started off with, just a blank piece of aluminium, almost like a piece of scrap. And this is what we turned it into. It's absolutely perfect. The letters on there are perfect. The color looks beautiful. The paint is taken really well. And you might be able to catch the metallic flake in the light there. Out in the sun, it looks absolutely brilliant. There's no clear coat in there yet. I was going to put a clear coat, but I realized I actually put on the door panel itself. And in the vehicle, when it sits like this, you can see it's quite difficult to see the lettering. So I've got some Tamiya model paint inside the house that we use for, making mini cars and stuff like that, those kits. So we've got a flat aluminium, and I think we're gonna try and paint this, hand paint it. Hopefully we don't stuff it up. But I think that's just gonna help the letters pop out a little bit more. So let's go inside the house and let's try to paint this up and see how it looks. This is Chantel, and she basically hand painted each individual letter with a toothpick and flat aluminium enamel paint. Unfortunately, we lost the footage somehow, but here you can see her essentially cleaning up any of the excess paint which bled onto the red surface of the outer ring. So unfortunately, I think with how thin the paint is and how delicate it is to actually hand paint these enamel letters, some of it seems to want to bleed onto the surface. So what we did here was essentially use enamel paint thinners and a cotton bud to wipe away any of the enamel that has overspilt. So that will basically give us a clean look, and it's strong enough to wipe away the enamel paint, but not harsh enough to actually eat up the 2K red paint that we used underneath. So let's take it back to the workshop. I'm going to spray it. I'm not going to record that, and we'll take a look at how the part turns out with a nice glossy finish. I've already applied 2 coats of the 2K clear, and I must say this has turned out absolutely stunning. If we zoom in here, you can see that beautiful metallic flake with a gloss finish and each individual hand painted letter. Look at that, absolutely stunning. I love how the colors turned out. I'm really glad that we painted each letter with the enamel paint. It really helps it stand out. And I think it's time to move on to some 3D printing and finishing up the grill. The next few parts should be pretty quick. This was the bulk of the project and we'll be ready for assembly in no time. So let's go take a look at the 3D printer and see what the next steps are. So this is my 3D printer. I didn't record anything, it's pretty uneventful because of how this printer works. But you can see it uses a liquid resin down here in the bottom. That's the tank, and this is the part that it produces. So you can see it's extremely high quality. There's no filament or layer lines or anything on it, and it requires pretty much zero cleanup whatsoever. So let's pull this off the build plate. Let's take it to the workshop into some thinners, clean up all the excess resin from there, and we can get to finishing this part, and we're almost done with the project. We're back in the workshop, and what we're going to do is peel this SS logo off the build plate from the 3D printer. It's a very messy thing to do. It's still got excess resin, and so that's all resin on my fingers. We're just going to try pry. I've done one or two of these already. It can be a little bit challenging, especially when it's slippery like this. There we go. It's quite flexible at the moment, but we just got to be careful. It's quite thin and we can break it. Just trying to get in on one of the edges. There we go. And I've got a bottle of thinners there, paint thinners, which we're going to use to clean it up. So you can see it's full of resin on the back here, which is why resin 3D printing is so messy. They make special tools for this, and we can just slosh it around in there a little bit. And this is what our SS logo looks like. So as you can see, it requires no cleanup whatsoever. It's perfect right out of the machine. So we don't have to do anything with regards to cleanup except just leave it in the tank a little bit longer, and we can move on to painting as we did with the outer rings. Alright, so we're back on the toolbox for final assembly. Let's go over the parts. We've got our outer ring there. We've got our burnished stainless steel mesh plate or grill, whatever you want to call it. This is how it looks after the burnishing, when it has the brushed stainless steel look on there. Straight off the machine it looks like this. Pretty dull, got a lot of scratches and marks on it. That's how it looks once it's been finished. And the last two parts, we've got the SS logo here, 3D printed, which we saw in the earlier step. So it's just painted in a gloss black, metallic black with a 2K clear on there. Still a little bit wet, we have to be a little bit delicate with it, but that's fine. And which I didn't show you on camera, I've got the JBL logo, which I did. This is also a 3D printed file, and I just painted the top with the flat aluminium enamel paint on the top. And yeah, so let's set up the camera, let's get the epoxy mixed and start the final assembly of this project. Okay, we're ready for the final assembly. So I've got some cardboard right here, and what I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of Pratley steel. Pratley steel is essentially like a metal epoxy. I'm not going to mix up too much. We don't want this to spill out the sides, so just a bit of a dab. And this epoxy is a 2-part epoxy, so you need to mix even amounts of both parts. I've got a little toothpick here, which I'm just going to use to mix up. Okay, so that's the epoxy mixed. We're going to put a very thin layer on the outside edge, very thin layer on the outer ring, and kind of mesh them together. We want to make sure that we don't put too much of epoxy, because what can happen is it can spill out the sides. We just want to put enough on the edge. I'd rather have it spill out on the outer edge than the inner edge, otherwise we'll basically never be able to get it off. Okay, and that's it. We'll let it sit for a few minutes and come back. So the outer ring has cured now. Well, good enough to handle. It's all one piece, so got some pretty heft to it. China Mall super glue, one of these cheap things. 1 rand a tube, who knows how much it costs. I'm gonna use this to glue the JBL logo on next. So, gotta be careful not to put too much on here. Okay, so the JBL logo is now done. The glue has hardened up. Super glue hardens up pretty quick. And you can see how that looks. It looks absolutely beautiful. It's got the gloss finish. I put a 2K clear on there. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. We just got to put the SS logo on, which has 2 pins in the back. And those 2 pins will line up right here. And it just kind of slots in. I might put a little bit of super glue to hold it in place. But again, that fit was a little bit loose. But have a look at that. Let me do the other 4 in the meantime and finish it up. And we'll come back and take one final look at them. All right. So I'll remove the passenger side door panel. It's just got a couple screws, and this is where the grill is kind of plastic welded. What I've done is I've just got a 6mm drill bit here, and I've just carved a flat spot in these rivets. They domed, so it's pretty hard to get it started. But I think on the next few I'll maybe sand them down or so looks like I did kind of drill through a little bit there on the mesh. There we go. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like. And down here in the center seems to be okay. So I'm not going to mount this permanently because we're going to reupholster, and it looks like this is some of the fabric that's kind of gotten tucked behind here. So we're going to make this red, this portion of it red, red leather. So we're just going to fit it on and see if everything fits, and if we need to make any modifications, maybe trimming this back or something. So let's have a quick look. Okay, so for the final reveal, here it is, the original door pad, the original grill, and hiding behind that is obviously the new grill that we just made up. And you can see how that looks. It's turned out absolutely beautiful. So I just decided last minute to fit the door pad back onto the vehicle and temporarily set up the speaker grill, and this is the final outcome. I'm really quite pleased with how it's turned out. A big worry was that it may not match with the rest of the vehicle, but I think with the design that I came up with, it still maintains that American, Australian muscle car look and feel. So one thing I noticed is that you can actually spot the grille from outside the vehicle, and when the sun is out, you can really see that metallic finish on the paint and the glare from that brushed stainless steel, which really helps make the door pad stand out. We wanted to do something that would enhance the OEM look, but still keep the functionality of the door. I didn't want to remove the cubby box and fit more speakers or do too much of custom work, because the idea is to keep the vehicle as a street car, and the woman needs space to keep their panties and their bras, so I wanted to maintain some storage space as well as a cup holder, and that's why we wanted to keep it as original as possible. So with the speaker grill, it really helps it stand out without doing too much to the door pad. If you're from South Africa, I hope everyone had a good long Easter weekend. We just had a last minute braai with the family at home, and it's, well, pretty much back to work tomorrow. So I'll be working on removing the other 3 door panels and prepping them for reupholstery in the meantime. I'll check back in with you guys once we start installing the new speaker system. So once again, thanks to everyone for watching and supporting the channel. We haven't made a video in a very long time, but I hope you enjoyed the different type of content and are looking forward to see where this project leads us.